Hey everybody, welcome back to WhiteBoard Finance. My name is Marco and I'm here to help you master your money and build your wealth. Today I'm going to review Betterment. The time of this recording is actually July 31st, so all the information you're getting is updated until right now. And a lot of things haven't really changed over the years with Betterment. So I get a lot of people in my comment section and also my direct messages on Instagram asking me how to invest or how to start investing in the stock market. So instead of creating a really long video, which I may ultimately end up doing later on, I decided to point everyone in the direction that I would go as a beginner if I wanted to start investing. So in this video, I'm going to introduce Betterment to you. I'm going to explain who it's for, some of the pros and cons. We're going to take a tour of the platform. I'm going to share my screen and do that. And then at the end, I'm going to do something fun and give it a quote-unquote Marco score, where I kind of rate different facets and different factors within Betterment. So what is Betterment? So Betterment is a robo-advisor. It's essentially an online financial advisor that's run by algorithms and software. So I know that sounds kind of scary, like the Terminator is coming out, and doing your finances. However, that couldn't be further from the truth. So let's take a step back and what is a robo-advisor? So essentially a robo-advisor is automated investing using algorithms that I mentioned, and it also allows you to automatically rebalance your portfolio daily. The cool thing about Betterment is that it actually offers tax loss harvesting, which helps you out if you're in a higher tax bracket, or pretty much any tax bracket, but the results are magnified if you're in that higher tax bracket. There's little to no human interaction unless your provider provides that. And in Betterment's case, you actually can sign up for an actual CFP, a certified financial planner, to actually be able to talk to you one-on-one if you choose so. So this allows them, by having no physical address and physical locations, it allows them to offer very low fees, very low minimums. Betterment is actually $0 to get started. And it takes literally 3 or 4 minutes to go through that entire process to open up your Betterment account. So robo-advisors are super cheap, super fast, super easy, super convenient. And again, if you use the link below, I will get compensated for that. So ultimately, let's get into introducing Betterment so you understand what you're getting yourself into if you choose to go this route. So Betterment is the largest independent online financial advisor, and they actually pick the funds for you and recommend asset allocation. So if you remember in my earlier videos talking about ETFs, ETFs just stand for exchange traded funds, and this is primarily what you're investing your money in when you allocate money towards stocks and also bonds. However, this is the biggest portion and the only thing you can invest in. So essentially what Betterment does is they take your overall portfolio and also your personal information like your age and things like that, and they want to figure out, okay, I think Marco at the age of 31 should be in 90% stocks, 10% bonds, and it ultimately allows you to allocate your money automatically. So in a prior time or in a prior age, people did this manually with a financial advisor. You had to set a meeting with them, you had to go get coffee or lunch or spend an hour or two every quarter or biannually. That financial advisor is kind of going by the wayside. The reason for that, and the reason why I'm recommending Betterment for the average person or the beginning investor, is because financial advisors are very expensive and they won't even talk to you unless you have a net worth of 6 figures. That's typically the case unless they're fee only, in which you have to pay them per consultation. So ultimately, my buddy runs a financial advising firm. He's a really good guy. He works with bigger companies and higher net worth individuals. He won't even talk to you unless you have 6 figures to invest, because it does not make financial sense for them. By the time he pays for advertising, compliance, overhead of an office space, marketing, all that good stuff, he's not making any money on the smaller fish in the sea, or the lower income or the lower net worth individual. So it's nothing wrong with that, and that's again why I recommend Betterment. So again, this ultimately invests in ETFs, which is pretty much a basket of stocks or a basket of funds, and that way all your eggs aren't in one basket. So you're not going to get any crazy returns from this in terms of investing in Amazon 15 years ago, for example. However, you're not going to lose your shirt if one of those companies were to go bankrupt or go out of business or whatever. So it's just a great way of diversifying your investment portfolio. So some of the accounts that Betterment offers, and I'll show you this on the back end when we tour it, are essentially taxable accounts, joint IRAs, or excuse me, joint accounts, Roth IRAs, SEP IRAs, traditional IRAs, rollovers. There's a million different things, and I'll show it to you once we get into that. And finally, Betterment actually does allow you to get hooked up with a CFP, a Certified Financial Planner, for a slightly higher cost, and I'll explain that later in this video. So who is Betterment for? So personal finance is obviously personal. So you could be a trust fund baby, you could be someone who, you could be the first person in your family tree to ever invest $1 in the stock market. It's really different for everyone. So if I had to classify, who Betterment is for, I would say that it's for the beginner investor, all the way up to intermediate or expert, depending on your net worth, because it just helps you get started. So it provides a hands-off approach to investing, retirement planning, and rollovers, and they also offer checking and savings with a pretty generous APY. I think at the time of this recording, the annual percentage yield for those products are 2.69%. And I know in my Capital One money market account, I'm getting 2%. So this is pretty significantly higher. So ultimately, Betterment is for someone who wants to have all of their finances in one place. So again, the checking, the savings, the retirement, the stocks, and it also allows you to set goals for like a major purchase like a car or a home, things like that. So it's ultimately for someone who wants all their finances in one convenient location. So let's go over some of the pros. Some of the pros of Betterment is that it's super simple asset allocation. So going back to that little chart, you know exactly where your money is going, and it couldn't be any easier to invest. You don't need to burn the midnight oil to understand, what's this stock doing? Did they fire their CEO? What is the board voting on? No, none of that. It's super simple. So asset allocation is easy, your money is diversified, and it's maximized through that algorithm. The minimum investment is also $0 to get started. So I've mentioned that a couple times in this video. With the financial advisors, as I mentioned, it may take a little bit of money to get involved with them, $50,000, $75,000, $100,000. The nice thing about robo-advisors is that the barrier or cost to entry is very low. Their pricing is straightforward, and I'm actually going to erase these two to make some room. Betterment's pricing is pretty simple. You have two plans. The first one is digital. So essentially, digital only costs 20 basis points per year, okay? So this gets you access to pretty much everything that I mentioned and what I'm gonna show you in the back end here when we tour it. But ultimately, if you don't know what fees mean, 20 basis points on $10,000 will equal basically $20 a year, okay? If you get to 100,000, it's gonna be 200 a year. $1 million, 2,000 a year, okay? It's pretty simple. The second plan that they have, and this is the plan that gets you access to the financial advisor, is called the premium, okay? Premium is gonna be 40 basis points. So pretty much just what I showed you. If you have 10 grand, it's gonna cost you 40 bucks a year. If you have 100 grand under management, 400, so on and so forth, okay? Pretty simple to understand. So the pricing is very straightforward, and you know exactly what you're getting. So the couple other pros of Betterment is that there is a retirement calculator, and it asks you for your retirement needs. So it syncs in all your other portfolios, and it tells you exactly where you need to be, or actually it asks you where you want to be, and it tells you what you need to do for retirement. Finally, there's that personalized advice packages through the certified financial planners. So if you're planning for like marriage, a big purchase, you had a baby, you want to set up a 529 plan, things like that, that is going to be under that premium plan that I just mentioned. And there's also goal-based investing, which I mentioned earlier in the video. So if you want to plan for like a house, a car, an emergency fund, things like that, it helps you set up those funds, and those returns have typically been better than your typical, CD or investment account at the bank. So finally, let's talk about some cons before we get into that tour. This all sounds fine and dandy, but there's obviously going to be some negative side effects to working with a robo-advisor. The biggest one is pretty obvious. This is not for do-it-yourselfers. I'll just call it DIYers, okay? So the people that go to Home Depot and do everything themselves, that's not for you. I'm one of those people, by the way. So not for the DIYers. So what do I mean by that? The DIYers is typically what I've been in my entire life. Since I was 18, I've been investing. I've always, had my nose in the stock market and researching and investing. And I'll tell you what, it does get kind of fatiguing after a while. So that's why with my Roth IRA, I just set up a target date fund and set it and forget it. I know it's not the most efficient way to make money or the best returns, but ultimately that's not who this product is for. So if you're a DIYer and you're someone who wants to burn the midnight oil and look at all the different performances and metrics and K1s and all that stuff, this probably isn't going to be for you, okay? The reason for that is because you're investing in funds rather than individual stocks. So the second biggest con is if you're someone with maybe a higher net worth or just someone who wants to get their whole picture, this does not asset allocate with third parties. Okay, I'll just call this third party. So asset allocation is basically, well, let me explain why I can't do it. So you can't allocate assets with a third party. So essentially, if you have your 401k with a third party and you link it with Betterment, it'll show you what's in that 401k, but it's not going to asset allocate based already on what's in that 401k. So if that 401k is 100% Coca-Cola, just for easy examples, they still may put you in stocks of Coca-Cola in those ETFs in Betterment. Does that make sense? So it doesn't know, they don't talk to each other, it only shows you what it is. So this is good because it actually shows you, your whole holistic profile, but again, the programs are not going to talk to each other. And then finally, the third con that I found is that you can't invest in REITs or commodities. Okay, so what a REIT is essentially a real estate investment trust. Okay, so if something is a REIT, I'm not going to turn the whole video into what a REIT is, but basically a REIT is a real estate investment trust. Basically, you cannot invest in that with Betterment. There's other ways to do so, but that is the third con that I found. So I don't want to bore you guys to death. Let's go and share the screen and let's take a tour of Betterment right now. Hey everybody, welcome back to the second part of this review. Without further ado, let's get right into it. So ultimately, this is the home screen for Betterment. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to navigate these side tabs because there is a lot of information in these different areas in each page, and I don't want this to go too long. So if you click on the General Investing tab, you can see here that it shows you your total balance, your Betterment earnings, when you can view your performance here. There's different goals that you can target, and then there's overall risk profiles based on what you want to invest in. So the cool thing about this tab is that you have the goal forecaster. So this will pretty much tell you based on historical results, where you're going to end up with certain investments. So if I want to invest $500 a month, my initial deposit was $1,000, and then over the course of 20 years, it'll tell you where you pretty much will be at an average outcome. Obviously, the stock market is risky and things can go up or down, but this will give you a good idea. If you stick to the plan, it'll show you where you're going to be at. So with that being said, you can actually plan for certain things. You can use the portfolio analysis to see kind of where your allocation is at. You can auto adjust this if you want. Right now this is set at 90% stocks, 10% bonds. You can change this to whatever you want it to be. So if I do click on adjust, it'll actually show you here that the likely 1-year return for this risk profile is anywhere from negative 15% to 33% gain. Obviously these are just estimates. This could be anything depending on economic conditions, the war, whatever. So if you do go to 100% stocks, I just like to do this for fun. It'll show you negative 17%, plus 37%, and then you can move this up and down. So it's really easy because this is that automatic asset allocation, if you will. So I'm going to exit out of this. We'll go down to the safety net. Basically, you can set up kind of like an emergency fund or keep pace with inflation and do all that good stuff. The retirement is nice because it'll ask you a few questions to identify your retirement needs. So it'll give you your full retirement picture, and you can click on personalize this goal. There's savings, and this is kind of that savings account that I mentioned. Right now it's up to 2.67% annual percentage yield, and it's FDIC insured, which covers up to $1 million. So if you go to add new, this is kind of cool because you can add it by goal type. So you can either do kind of like, I want to add savings, I want to add education, safety net, general investing, retirement, and major purchase. The nice thing about major purchase is that you can actually kind of save for a car, if you will, or a vacation or a dream house. It's pretty much any big ticket item. So if I click on major purchase and click continue, it'll ask me how I want to fund this, and it'll either be an individual taxable account or it'll be a joint account, basically designed for couples or family members. So that's kind of cool for more advanced planning. One last thing is you can actually start by account type, and these are the different account types that I mentioned. You have individual, sorry, I don't know why I can't say individual today, joint, traditional IRA, Roth IRA, SEP IRA, and trust. So there's a lot of stuff you can do here. So I don't want to spend any more time on this review just because it's been going pretty long, and I'm glad that you've stuck with me thus far. So let's go to the Marco score and finally give this a score. So this is going to be a spreadsheet that I have in the cloud, and I'm going to share this with everyone. Ultimately, this will be a link that I'm going to either send out in an email or leave in the description below, and you can actually view all of the things that I review from here on out in the future. So if you want to sign up for it, you can click on the link right here. I just pretty much tell you what it is. In this case, it's a robo-advisor. So let's start with the first category, commissions and fees. So I think that if you're comparing this to basically a traditional financial advisor, I mean, I got to give this a 9 out of 10. Obviously, there are other ETFs and lower cost funds like with Vanguard and things like that. However, 25 basis points a year is very cheap, especially if you're comparing it to mutual funds as well. Customer service, from what I've read online, it's all like 4.5 stars, 5 stars. So in this case, I'm going to give this a 9 as well. I have not personally dealt with the customer service, but all the research I've done leads me to believe that it is legitimate. The ease of use, this pretty much can't get any easier to use than what it is. It's kind of like a one-stop shop, so I'm going to give it a 9.5. The tools and resources that they have with being able to link other accounts, pretty much getting your whole holistic overview of your portfolio, and also the different personalized questions they ask you, I think it's very good for what it is. So since for what it is, I'm going to give it an 8.5, just because there aren't tools and resources that you would get with a traditional stockbroker. So investment options, all the options that I looked at are very good. It's mostly Vanguard products, a lot of Vanguard ETFs, and Vanguard is the 800-pound gorilla in the room for Roth IRAs and things like that. So I'm going to give this a 9. And then asset allocation is pretty much how they put your money to use and where they put your money. Since it doesn't have REITs, I'm actually going to knock this off like a 1.5 and give it an 8.5, which gives us a final Marco score of 53.5. And that last column where you see YouTube link, I'm going to go back and update that once I actually drop the Marco score in this video, and that way it'll link for future people to actually see what I rated it. So all in all, everybody, thank you so much for sticking around this long. I hope this video was valuable for you. If it is, please like the video and share it with one friend who may be in the market for dipping their toe in the water for investing. I know it sounds intimidating, but Betterment is the easiest way to get started in my humble opinion. And also, if you want to support the channel, please start a Betterment account with the link below. It is at no additional cost to you, and it just helps me create more content. Thank you so much, everybody, and have a prosperous day.